Some of the world's largest companies didn't collapse because of a major accident. They fell, ignoring small, repeated, and increasingly obvious signs. Warnings that seemed too simple for experienced executives to take seriously. While reports showed positive numbers, people's behavior had already changed, and this discrepancy almost never appears in official statements. What is striking is not the failure itself, but the pattern behind it. Wealthy companies with access to the best data insist on making weak decisions, not due to a lack of information, but due to an attachment to old beliefs. They saw the problem, but chose to interpret it in a different way. And the more money involved, the harder it became to admit the mistake. This video investigates these failures as if explaining them to a child. Because when you take away the corporate vocabulary, something uncomfortable remains. Bad decisions defended out of pride. Products created without understanding people. Purchases made without understanding the culture. Each case here connects to the next, revealing a pattern that is invisible at first glance. And when this pattern becomes clear, it starts to appear in everyday choices as well. That's when the content stops being about companies and starts being about you. Quibi seemed like the perfect idea on paper. Short videos, famous stars, and plenty of money. It was content made for mobile phones, designed for people who are always in a hurry. Even so, something basic was ignored from the start. People like to show what they like to other people. Sending a clip, posting a scene, commenting with a friend, it's all part of the game. Quibi treated this as an unimportant technical detail. In practice, he cut the conversation off before it even began. It's like drawing something cool at school and hiding the paper in your backpack. Nobody knows it exists, therefore nobody cares. The mistake wasn't due to a lack of quality or investment. It was forgetting how human behavior works outside of spreadsheets. When something excites us, the first reaction is to share it. That's how it is with funny videos, curious news, and simple ideas. Companies that grow rapidly understand this and make the transfer easier. YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram grow because they spread the word, not because they hold people captive. Quibi did the opposite. It locked the content away as if it were a secret. For those who create projects, the lesson is clear and practical. If something doesn't circulate, it dies before it matures. This type of error also appears outside of screens. Local businesses that don't accept referrals lose customers without even realizing it. Professionals who don't showcase their work are relying solely on luck. A good practice is simple. Make word-of-mouth marketing easy. Clear buttons, easy links, sections that can be commented on. When someone understands quickly, they explain it to someone else. Those who learn this early avoid major losses later. If this type of flaw catches your attention, it's worth continuing to read. Subscribe to the channel so you don't repeat mistakes that cost billions. BlackBerry has been in the pockets of executives, politicians, and leaders all over the world. It was synonymous with status, security, and efficiency at work. Typing quickly on physical buttons seemed like a definite advantage. The problem started when the world changed its behavior. People started touching the screen, dragging, zooming, and customizing. Apps are no longer just a detail. They've become the centerpiece of the experience. Even so, the company remained stuck with what it already had control over. He trusted the keyboard so much that he ignored the rest of the board. Meanwhile, other brands learned new rules by playing around. The decision seemed logical to those who only looked inward. Loyal customers praised the click of the keys and the accuracy of the typing, but new users thought differently and were not listened to. They wanted simple maps, videos, games, and social networks. The telephone has ceased to be a tool and has become an extension of social life. BlackBerry saw fashion where there was structural change. It's common to see this in companies and careers. The person protects their current skill so much that they avoid learning another one. Before you know it, the market has already switched languages. The lesson here is not to abandon what works. It's about understanding when something is no longer enough. Those who work in technology experience this frequently. Programmers learn new languages so they don't get stuck with just one. Business professionals are studying digital platforms in addition to the traditional curriculum. Even students benefit from testing new tools early on. Maintaining comfort may seem safe, but it comes at a high price. And when rigidity increases, adaptation slows down. This pattern helps to understand another similar error, involving a machine that is too elegant. Juicero emerged promising modernity, health, and cutting-edge technology. It was a beautiful machine, full of sensors and sophisticated speech. The high price helped create a sense of exclusivity. For many, it seemed like the future of homemade juice. But there was one detail that had been overlooked in the initial enthusiasm. The juice came in pre-packaged, already squeezed packets. The machine simply tightened something that was already ready. In a short amount of time, someone performed the simplest test possible. He squeezed the package with his hand and obtained the same result. The mistake wasn't in wanting to innovate. He was trying to complicate something that was already working well. Technology, when it doesn't solve a real problem, becomes an expensive ornament. This happens with products, services, and even personal projects. Excessive spreadsheets for simple tasks delay decision-making. Complex apps are replacing habits that were already producing results. The question that prevents this type of mistake is practical. What am I really making easier for the user? If the answer is unclear, the warning light is on. Astute entrepreneurs test before scaling. They ask an ordinary person to use it without a lengthy explanation. If the person understands it quickly, there's value there. If you need a technical justification, something is wrong. In everyday life, the same logic applies. Simplifying routines often yields better results than overcomplicating everything. Fewer steps, less friction, less mental cost. This type of reflection changes decisions, both big and small. If this made sense, leave a like and follow, because the next case shows another classic mistake. Skype used to be synonymous with video calling. Before remote meetings became routine, he was already there. Families who were far apart could see each other through the screen, and companies saved on travel expenses. It was a privileged position, built up in advance. But leadership requires constant movement. As the world sped up, the product became heavy. Updates were slow, the interface was confusing, and adjustments failed. Gradually, using Skype became an effort, not a solution. And when something becomes tiresome, people look for shortcuts. Zoom came in quietly and without grand speeches. It promised to work perfectly with just one click. It didn't require a manual nor extra patience. The simple experiment became standard almost overnight. Skype had a name, a user base, and a structure. There was a failure to observe how people actually use the service. This happens when companies rely on the past. Over-reliance on the current situation weakens listening skills. Those who stop improving start to get replaced. This lesson is valuable in every area of life. Skills that don't evolve lose ground. Routines that don't adapt create friction. It's worth reviewing processes from time to time, switching tools, testing formats, seeking external opinions. Professionals who thrive do so without emotional attachment. They treat improvement as a habit, not as an emergency. Waiting for the competition to show up is always too late. This same mistake was repeated when a company bought something new and didn't know how to take care of it. Yahoo bought Tumblr, trying to appear young again. The platform had creativity, its own language, and active communities. It was a space where people expressed themselves without many rules. Instead of observing, the company tried to control. Restrictions arose. Changes came from the top down. The very thing that made the environment vibrant began to disappear. Users felt that the place no longer belonged to them. When identity is lost, escape is swift. The value lay in the behavior, not just in the technology. This type of acquisition usually fails for the same reason. Buying something doesn't mean understanding it. Young brands operate with a different logic. They thrive on freedom, not standardization. By imposing strict limits, Yahoo broke the natural dynamic. It's like getting a new toy and taking it apart in an attempt to improve it. The intention may be good, but the effect is the opposite. Companies repeat this pattern by stifling creative teams. The result is usually demotivation and attrition. The final lesson is simple and applicable. Before changing something that works, observe it for a longer period of time. Ask why the people are there. Copying without understanding leads to weak decisions. The same rule applies to personal projects. Don't discard things that give you energy just to appear organized. Not everything needs to fit into a mold to generate results. Sustainable growth respects the essence of what already exists. Ignoring this turns good ideas into expensive souvenirs. These failures are not just curious stories about famous companies. They function like uncomfortable mirrors. They show what happens when simple signs are ignored for too long, when insisting seems easier than revising decisions, when defending the past sounds safer than adjusting course. The straightforward question is, where might you be repeating these patterns? In career choices, in personal projects, in habits that no longer deliver results. What are you keeping just because it's always been that way? And what might change if you paid closer attention to the actual behavior of the people around you? Applying this type of thinking doesn't require genius. It requires a willingness to question, simplify, and adjust early. Those who do this avoid costly mistakes and gain an advantage before others realize it. If you found this content helpful, keep learning here. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and watch upcoming videos to understand how simple decisions shape big results.